Great. So we are lucky today to have some panelists lined up to help us better understand the agricultural investment infrastructure investment program and how that is showing up in Maine. Of course, this is a relevant topic and opportunity for local food processing in Maine. And so we are going to hear a little bit about the program generally from the DACF, and then we'll get into some question and answers with our panelists. We have Amy from Crooked Face Creamery. We have Melissa with Harvesting Good and Laura Neal from Liberation Farms to speak a little bit to how this grant program has shown up with their food businesses. We also have Bree Bowman here today, who's been doing a little bit of work with the DACF on analyzing the data that came across through all of the applications for AIIP. We know that a lot of, the volume of applicants versus awardees was pretty stark. So they'll be able to speak a little bit to the work that they've been doing to analyze, what types of projects are really looking for funding through this type of grant program. So let's go ahead and hear just a brief introduction from our panelists. So Jane, Amy, Laura, and Melissa, if you just want to introduce yourselves quickly, and then Jane, I'll let you take it away with a bit of an intro on DACF's involvement in this program. And if you have to share slides or anything, let me know and I can hook you up there.
Great.
So
I
Jane,
do
you
have
want
a
to kick
few
us off?
slides. Yeah,
Okay.
sure. My name is Jane Kersling, and I manage the Agricultural Infrastructure Investment Program. I started my position after the awards went out, so I was not part of the process beforehand. And my day-to-day includes, working with businesses or awardees to modify their budgets, assess any risk if there is risk, and to be focused on the impact of this program and collecting those impact stories. So thanks for having me. I will hand it off to Amy.
Hi, everyone. My name is Amy Rowbottom, and I am the sole owner and cheesemaker here at Crooked Face Creamery. We're a small batch artisan cheese company in Skowhegan. Our signature cheese here is a whole milk ricotta. But as of late, and due to the AIIP funding we received, we're really finally stretching our arms a bit, expanding our aged cheese production, which is super exciting because I've been making cheese for over 15 years, and I'm really excited for this chance to grow. We sell our products nationwide through our online store, through direct wholesale distribution, and we have a brick and mortar store here at our creamery. So I'm excited to be here and talk about how AIIP has really leveraged us to grow our lines of cheeses after all this time. So thanks for having me.
Amy, Laura, you want to introduce yourself? You're on mute.
Okay, sorry. Anyway, take two. I'm Laura. I'm the farm operations manager at Liberation Farm in Wales. And Liberation Farm is the community farming portion of the Somali Bantu Community Association. And the kind of like overview of what the SBCA does is to support and empower Somali Bantu refugees to uphold their cultural identity and thrive here in Maine. So there's three different kind of like pillars of our work. I work at the farm, and then there is our community advocacy program, which is through the office in Lewiston. and our youth program, which is both at the office in Lewiston and at the farm. Then at the farm, we have a variety of programs that support the Somali Bantu community. There's the commercial growers that grow food to supplement their income. And we have a really vast network of partners of where that food goes. There is the family farmer program where folks get a tenth of an acre to grow food for themselves. We have a livestock program where we have goats currently and also chickens in the summer for meat production. And then we also have a youth program on the farm. So that's kind of all that we do. And I'm based on the farm. We have three full-time staff and then a little bit of seasonal staff. And we serve about 200 plus Somali Bantu community members at the farm. And then lots and lots of folks at the office in Lewiston.
Thanks, Laura.
Sure.
That's all you do? And Melissa, hi.
Hey, it's Melissa Matajunas. I am with Harvesting Good. So we are the first ever, I guess, here in the state of Maine, processing infrastructure. So we do IQF local frozen broccoli.
Wonderful. So thank you guys for being here. Jane, I'm going to turn it over to you to give a little bit more background on AIIP and how that shows up in Maine, and then we'll get into our panel questions. And I made you co-host, so you should be able to share your screen.
Wonderful. So yeah, I have a few slides I can share to talk about the background of the program. So in 2022, approximately 20 million in funds through ARPA was allocated to help Maine farmers and food processors improve critical infrastructure. And this funding enabled farms and businesses, agricultural businesses, to pursue upgrades that would mitigate the adverse effects of COVID-19, increase the supply of Maine-grown food, enhance supply chain resilience, and help grow and sustain one of Maine's heritage industries. And as Alita mentioned before, there were a lot of applicants to the program, over 850, and I'm really happy that Bree is on today to maybe give us a little bit more information on those. I've not seen the report yet either that she's working on, and I'm really excited to see it. We had 64 awards given. As I mentioned, we received a shade under 20 million, but the total of all eligible requests was about 160 million. So a lot of need there. 12% of eligible requests were funded, and the average grant amount was about $300,000. The awards were split up to accommodate processors and farms. So 64% of awards went to farms, and then 36% went to processors. And then awards broken out by sector. We tried to be as equitable as possible. And as I mentioned, I was not involved with the design of the program. So I can't answer a lot of those questions, but you can see here that dairy received 19% of funds, fruit 14%, grain 17%, meat and poultry 27%, and vegetable 23%. Over with the map of Maine, you can see how the funds were dispersed through all of the 16 counties in Maine, and you can see that Aroostook County received the most funding, probably because of the highest volume of farmland in the state, and the scale of potato processing. We have we do have some highlights from the completed projects. So at the year end of 2024, 27 of 64 projects are completed. I think that's now 29. And so we do semi-annual reporting for awardees, and they report out on how many new jobs were created. And according to that reporting, 85 new jobs have been created as a result of the completed projects. An estimated 247 farms have benefited indirectly from completed projects, so through supply chain relationships, shared infrastructure, what you would think of as an upstream impact. And then an estimated 60 processors have benefited indirectly from completed. Oh, I think I said that wrong. Or wait, no. I think I meant to say directly from completed, not indirectly in that first bullet there. And then an estimated 60 processors benefited indirectly from completed projects. And AI IP funding has also improved awardee business viability and access to other financial resources, which I'm going to talk a little bit about on this slide. So awardees with completed projects reported that AI IP grants enabled businesses to access additional financial resources and lower interest rates. There was an improved financial standing due to grants and allowed some awardee businesses to secure private investment and expand their credit capacity. Other businesses were able to access new loans through lenders, including Farm Credit East, USDA, and commercial retailers, and overall just improved operational capacity, which has significantly contributed to greater business viability, and it allowed for increased scale to meet demand. So that's a very brief overview, and I will hand the screen back to Alita, or just in general. And if anyone has any questions about the slides, I don't know if we're doing questions now or.
Yeah, I think we can have a couple minutes if folks have sort of general questions about the program that Jane could respond to. Go for it, Chris.
Yeah, Jane, oh, come on, video. Thanks. When does the money have to be spent by? Is it this year or because it looked like just under half are done.
That's a really good question. So initially, the first completion date was 12/31 of 2024, but we received an extension. So we asked awardees to let us know if they needed more time with their projects. And the ones that did filed a project extension, and that the final due date is now August 31st of 2026. There were a lot of people that had delays in starting their projects due to contractors and other external events that just were out of their control. So,
Great, thank you.
Jane, can you also continue on that thread, clarify for those of us who don't know much about AIP or RFSI? Like, I know that, RFSI, some farmers have spent the money, it's reimbursed, and are not, getting blocks because of the USDA for being reimbursed. Is the AIP funding, like if the farmers have not spent it, completed their projects yet, is that funding in jeopardy for them at this point?
no, and this is it's the first grant program I've ever worked on that was forward facing. So the money went out, all of the money went out right away.
Okay.
So at this point, everyone has their money. Yeah, I mean I'm really happy for that. And there is risk involved with administering a grant program like that, but in my opinion, there's risk either way. So I'm happy that the money is in the hands of the people that need it right now.
I do have one other question.
Sure.
Uh, what did you all base your acceptance of proposals on? Was there a report done or some kind of body of research that you knew where the gaps were to determine where the money was best spent?
Yes. So that's part of the process I wasn't involved with, but I know that there was research conducted to understand, there was a gap analysis to understand where money was needed, and that's how this program came about. I don't have that report, but I believe it exists somewhere.
Yeah, I'm just seeing in the chat, looks like Amy has responded that it was the Heritage Industry Survey.
Great. Thanks. Helpful.
All right. Any other broad questions about AIP for Jane before we get into our panel questions? All right. Then let's forge ahead. My first question for our panelists, and panelists, feel free to just hop in if you've got something to say or respond to with these questions. My first question is about the challenges that you face in your operations, and how AIIP has addressed those challenges and which challenges they've addressed. Laura, I'm seeing you come off mute. Do you
Oh,
want to go first?
sure. I'm unmuted. Well, yeah, so Liberation Farms is 100 acres and it serves hundreds of people, and there's a whole bunch of programs going on. And so the grant funding supported us to buy a lot of equipment that was kind of right-sized for the property. Before Liberation Farm, the SPCA was leasing land in a whole bunch of different locations. There was like a wash station here and a field there and different towns and different things and all of this. And then in 2020, they were able to raise enough money to be in the process of purchasing this property. So this is totally before my time. So, but the farm really required much larger equipment than it had when at its like current permanent locations. So the grant allowed us to buy a whole bunch of equipment, like 100 horsepower tractor, a large plow, a large disc harrow, a large mower. So it really made the actual like operations and production just so much more efficient and just so much more like appropriate. I guess I can't think of another word that or functional, because the previous equipment was just for much smaller scale operation, and it was all just kind of like scrambled and strapped together. Um, so the challenge was definitely like all of a sudden the organization had this huge property and like not the right stuff to manage it. So that really came in. And yeah, I mean, I was not working there during while this grant was being written or before the funds had been utilized for this equipment. And like I literally can't imagine running the farm without the equipment that we purchased from the grant. So yeah, full stop. So and then it also helped us build a whole nother building for dedicated to corn processing. The farm grows about 18 to 20 acres of African flint corn, which is a staple of the Somali diet. And whatever folks don't want to keep for themselves, we process and sell to Maine Grains. which is like a huge partner. And is a great outlet for our product. And now we actually have a building to do this, and a whole lot of corn focused equipment that is very specific. And even though Somali folks, have this long cultural connection to corn growing and consumption, it's certainly different doing so here in America, here in the Northeast, and then also selling on an American market. So, we have now just such a greater capability with this funding to process and market the corn. So the challenges were definitely, we just didn't have the equipment or facilities to like meet the needs of like all of these programs and all of these people. And then all of a sudden on this like really big new property. So it really drastically impacted the amount of folks that we can support on the farm and how we can get everything that's grown there out in the world. So it's really been vital. And yeah, I wasn't here before, but I'm glad that I got to experience the everything that happened because of the grant.
That sounds, yeah, just like you said, you couldn't really imagine doing it before the infrastructure that you had after the grants. Great. Amy, would love to hear from you next about some of the challenges that you face at Crooked Base Creamery and how AIIP has responded to some of those challenges.
Sure. So just to give a little bit of a backstory, I've been making cheese for 15 years, started out farmstead. Now I buy my milk in. My mission has always been, how do I support Maine dairy farms, having grown up on a dairy farm myself. And so we make as much cheese as we can, right? Buy in as much Maine milk as we can. So about 5 years ago, I developed this product, our Applewood smoked ricotta, and it gained some real momentum in the wholesale market. And we got approved by Whole Foods, but we needed a, a better production space. And so I moved here to the mill at Maine Grains to build out our creamery. And so we were here for a few months. We went through our whole audit with Whole Foods. We got in. We started to just produce our smoked ricotta on a much bigger scale, and then COVID hit. And then we had really designed this whole space for increasing our ricotta production, and wholesale specifically. Retail was just sort of on the back burner. And then around the same time, Amazon, Whole Foods got bought out by Amazon, and their regulations changed, the audit requirements, the insurance requirements. So it's just got hit from all sides on all these different challenges. And not to mention distribution of like, how do we get our cheeses to the distributors that sell to Whole Foods reach, because they wanted to take it regional. And so we kept just meeting all these barriers, and then the pandemic as well. And so I had to just totally change my business plan. And I opened a little retail store. We started to buy in other Maine cheeses and other products, which opened my eyes to like, wow, this makes me feel really good. It's another way for me to support Maine dairy. But because we designed this space and invested so much in, our fresh cheese production, the aged cheese side of things was just also on the back burner. And it's a big challenge for creameries is the amount of investment aged cheese requires. You're putting, not to mention the really specific requirements of, right temperature and humidity. It costs a lot of money to build that kind of infrastructure. But then you're also spending a lot of money on the milk and the labor and the time to age those cheeses out properly. And so I when we opened the store and we started to get more local demand and more retail demand, and then more demand, hey, what other cheeses can you make? Can you expand this line? And and that's when like I was like, we've got to make more than just ricotta here. We've got to start to expand. What else can we make? How much more milk can we buy? And so that's where AIP came in. I applied for more storage space here because we were buying everything in bulk to get, the best price possible for all our case boxes and packaging. And so one piece of it was like adding storage, and the aging room was a really big piece of the project. And that has allowed us, just like building that infrastructure has eased up the financial burden of growing out that line. And now we've tripled our capacity. Where I was in my existing aging room, we could only fit in about 80 wheels at a time, which is just a couple batches of cheese. For us, now we have tripled that capacity to buy in more Maine milk and make more Maine cheese. We've added an affineur position, someone that comes in and tends the cheeses. We also have a production assistant now. So we've added some jobs, and it's really helped us. It gave us it leveraged us to be able to expand that side of our business, which is very exciting for us. After all these years of making fresh cheese, it's gonna be really great for our company, and being able to support our main farms that we love. And on top of that, we've expanded our retail space to buy in more Maine products, which feels really good too. So yeah, I would say that really helped address, some of the big challenges as a small rural creamery here in the middle of Maine.
Wow, sounds like a game changer, Amy. That's fantastic.
Thank
Also
you.
heard that nugget about corporate consolidation and how that really messed with your plans.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah. But with one door closes, if that hadn't happened, I wouldn't have gone in this direction. And I really love where we're going. Not to, bright side it. It was pretty traumatic having done all that work to get to that point. And but with that came this new way we could continue to follow our mission, and
Oh, yeah.
in a stronger way, I feel like, in a more connected way with our
Mm.
fellow producers and community. So yeah, it's one of the good things.
Silver, yeah, it's silver lining there.
Yes, yeah, yes.
Melissa, want to hear from you. What are some of the challenges that Harvesting Good faces, and how has AIIP addressed some of those?
Yeah, so we were kind of lucky. I can speak for not just myself, but our partners. So, our farm partners, Circle B Farms, received an AIIP grant, as well as W.R. Allen, which is our blueberry processing facility. So, how they helped, I know that, for Circle B Farms, they just had like outdated equipment. They really couldn't keep up with, the volume that we wanted. So they were able to, get $250,000 to upgrade like in a three-phase power system, and they were able to put irrigation in and a GPS for their tractors, really enhancing their capabilities. The blueberry processing facility, they received almost $500,000, and it allowed them to have laser inspection equipment. So it's now helping them be able to get, really equipment out there significantly faster, as well as reducing waste. And then for us, we were able to get a grant to help us with our blancher. So without the blancher, it would have taken us forever to process 1 million pounds of broccoli, because it would just having to keep heating up and stuff like that. So that was absolutely important for us to, get up to the volume that we wanted, but also it helps nutrition retention. So
Yeah, that's great. And it sounds like it really, the fact that you had those partners also receive support for this project just made all the difference.
it really did. Yeah. And I think that, with the pounds that we want to move, and, we are looking to possibly partner with other farms to have them utilize our equipment. So it just makes it better for, not just us, but whoever's going to be, partnering with us in the future. So.
Awesome. Thanks, Melissa. Um, Okay, my next question for the group is about processing capacity in particular, and how um, the investment through AIP in your operation has improved your processing capacity, and if you've been able to access new markets through this expansion through AIP, and what, the benefit to your customers has looked like, if so.
I can jump in.
Great.
So I did kind of touch on this in terms of like our new aging room has, it's tripled our production, over tripled our ability to produce more cheese. Um, but it's also in the time period since the pandemic, our wholesale markets have rebounded, um, thankfully, and now we are selling our aged cheeses through our distribution and through our retail store and direct with, direct wholesale accounts. So we've been able to build up enough of an inventory that we can actually offer our cheeses wholesale versus just retail at farmers markets and our retail store. So that's been opened us up a lot to a lot more markets. We're on fair.com now. We sell through Crown, through Native, and we did not produce enough consistently enough to be able to even put that on our available, like what we had for cheeses available. Before the AIP grant, we were making aged cheese like whenever we could, whenever we had a little extra money. And now we're on the roll where we're making it every week and we have a steady supply. So that's been really great for us. And now that we have a whole new wholesale market for our aged cheeses.
Um, Laura, do you want to speak to that?
Sure. So, I mentioned all the equipment that we were able to purchase, which just on a production level just allowed us to have the fields prepped on time, allowed us to incorporate cover crop in like a better and more efficient way, and all these things that just allowed to kind of improve our growing practices on the farm with just more appropriate size equipment. But on the processing side, we were able to build an entire building that was dedicated to corn. And we also bought a batch dryer because we had all these problems with properly drying down the corn. The corn has to be at a specific level of moisture for then it to be shelf stable for main grains to take it, or our other partners. I mean, they're our biggest partner for purchasing the corn, but we also do have a couple smaller accounts. But it has to be at a certain moisture level for folks to be able to buy it, and it was really hard to consistently do. So with the batch dryer, we're able to do that, and it just really elevates kind of like the professionalism of what we're doing. We were also drying the corn in our high tunnels. So now the high tunnels can be used for greens production, so we can have more produce happening, and the corn has its dedicated space, and it's just being executed in such a, like, I can't think of a better word than like more professional, like more just like an improved system. It's kind of helping us to streamline the whole corn system that involves so many farmers. So it's just making it, the whole process so much like tighter. And the corn dryer was interesting. We had to basically build a building that had the right plug and electrical capacity to actually use it. And then the building also stores all of the equipment involved with the corn. So the processing for the corn is just like been elevated in a very significant and impactful way, that it's making the product so much better. Like sometimes we've had like corn that has to be returned and continued to dry and like all these different things. So it's really made a huge impact in our processing capacity.
Yeah, now you're able to use the high tunnel for what its its highest purpose, if you will.
Exactly.
That's great.
Yeah.
Um, Melissa, do you want to speak to this one?
I like couldn't figure out my my computer.
You got it.
Um, so it's definitely helped our capacity. So the state-of-the-art Blancher, it basically doubled our processing speed, allowing us to handle larger quantities of produce. Um, it also streamlined our operations and enhanced the quality of our frozen product. We did learn a lot from our blanching to not over blanch it, because that's kind of what we did to last year. So definitely we learned a lot as well with that. Um, it also set us up with new avenues for hitting the market, with the ability to process more. We're obviously able to, have meet those growing demands of, schools and institutional businesses. And we're really hoping to be able to support other local farms with our equipment. So I think that we could possibly help, you know, um, move capacity for not just ourselves, but for other farms as well.
Yeah, all about that. Maximizing those processing resources for efficiency. Great. My next question is about partnerships or collaborations that have emerged because of this AIIP funding. I think I heard Amy and Laura talk about Maine Grains as a partner, and Melissa, it was great to hear about Allen's and Circle B and how they've been major partners. But just want to, yeah, drill down on that partnership or collaboration aspect and how AIP has allowed you to expand those partnerships or uh, if you have goals for bringing other partners along into your project.
I can
I can
speak to
start.
that.
Oh,
Oh, go for it. Go ahead.
Um, so I was just going to mention that, I keep saying it, but I definitely want to stress this is that, we're recognizing that there's potential to maximize the use of our equipment. So we'd love to like open the doors to new farms. So basically we're using our equipment for like 45 days out of the year. So we have all this time to utilize it. So, are there local farms that we can engage, for minimal processing or creating like value added products for them? Um, and if we can do this and have a wide range of products, we will need to, diversify, I think, our equipment. But I think that if we're able to get more and more partners, we could, in turn, because like, for instance, our floretters, they're actually corers. Like they're perfect for apples. And like we grow so many apples and all the schools want sliced apples. It's like, how can we, all of us work together to maximize this equipment, because for us just to sit on it is so dumb. so, so that's kind of what I see about more partners, because obviously, we have our farm partner, and if we continue to grow, our long-term goal was, is to have a truly New England product, meaning we have farms across New England and not just in Maine. So, those are our long-term goals, is to have just continuing to have more and more partners.
I will echo Annie's comment in the chat that we're so glad to hear that that is one of your priorities and major light bulb above our heads about local food switchboard connections there, Melissa, as
Yeah,
that's
and
one of our goals.
let anyone know if if you know of any farms that produces like a ton of carrots, because it doesn't have to be IQF. We can just, you know, I was thinking about this with like food waste or biomass. Could we just, all these cover crops that aren't being used, can we flash freeze those and sell them to dog food companies? Is there a way to really maximize what's going on in Maine, to help everyone? So
Yeah. Okay, more to come on that, Melissa. I want to give let's go Amy and then Laura a chance to talk about collaborations or partnerships with your projects.
So, due to having more aging space, we are now collaborating with other creameries where, for example, Springdale Farm, they produce this fantastic Gouda and this really nice cheddar, sharp cheddar. And so we've been bringing in that Gouda and cheddar, smoking it in-house and then like doing aging trials, which I'm really excited about. So they usually sell their Gouda quite young. And so we're going to be smoking it and aging it out much longer in our space. So really fun to collaborate with other creameries that might not have that infrastructure, and seeing the cool products that we can do together and help promote each other, which then I would sell that cheese back to them and they could have another product too. So we're doing that. We've made so many new connections, having expanded our refrigeration and just our storage space here. We've been talking with quite a few producers on, hey, and we leave our native Maine order there because they won't deliver it to us at our rural farm. Can we have your space as a drop-off place where we can come pick up our product? But they don't have the ability for these distributors to bring product to them. So that's something we're working out because I want to be a place where we can support other farms that are more rural, that might not have we're in a downtown location. So I'm working with some other farms on that opportunity. And then just we've been diving into a lot of education, partnerships with other creameries on sensory analysis and grading programs, and which has opened us up to new financing and grants. And so it's yeah, and I think it's exciting. It's exciting all the things that we can do now that we have this this expanded storage and refrigeration and aging space. There's a lot we can do. So that's just the beginning. We just finished the aging room literally on December 31st. Was like down to the wire. We finished our project. So there's a lot to come.
That is incredibly exciting. Sounds like just snowballing opportunities. And again, excited to hear about your enthusiasm for being like a shared resource space hub for other farmers to make those connections.
Yeah, that's brand new. It's just we've just been getting requests and it seems like something we need to really work out and look into. So yeah. Thanks.
Awesome. Laura, go for it.
Yeah, I wanted to just continue on with like the shared aspect. We were able to, so we purchased a four bottom plow, which is a pretty big piece of equipment, but you really only use it at certain times of the year, in the spring to open up the land. And we had a kind of neighboring friend, another refugee farmer who purchased some land in Wales just down the road from the farm. So we were able to use our tractor purchased with the AIP funding along with the equipment purchased from the funding to support another refugee farmer in this really amazing opportunity for him where he bought his own land. So we were able to do a bunch of the field prep for him. Also, one of our neighboring farmer buddies who hays our field has requested to use some of the equipment that we were able to purchase through the funding. So I feel like in our neighborhood, we're really sharing a lot and supporting farmers that wouldn't have access to this type of equipment, and we're happy to kind of share and support each other. Also, the funding has allowed for like a lot of staff professional development. None of us have corn or grain experience. But just by virtue of the fact that the community we work with is very focused on corn production, we've really been able to learn a lot, and that was through cooperative extension and Maine Grains. Like I feel like they have been so supportive and such a great network for us on the farm. We're always just trying to kind of figure out our systems to make things work. And then we also bought the batch dryer from Songbird, which was a farm. Were in Unity that had detected PFAS on their property and had to sell all their equipment and their operations and all of that kind of stuff. So we were able to buy a bunch of their grain equipment, and also, which felt like a really good thing to do to support them in that really upsetting, turbulent time. and also connect with the person that had like made that specific, very specific equipment. So I feel like the grant has really allowed us to just like network in the local farming community with different producers and service providers and our farming neighbors. So it's been really great.
Some, yeah, that's a tragic outcome for the songbird, but I'm glad that you were able to support them that way. Um, okay, I have one more question for our panelists. It's going to be a two-parter. Curious about what additional infrastructure or support would you want for your operation? And sort of tied into that, if AIIP were to continue or expand, what kinds of recommendations would you have for future rounds of funding?
Oh, I have
Melissa?
something.
Great. What's on your wish list?
So I have many things, but I would say the big one is that we need for our state. So I know it's like going towards like specific businesses. And Jane, you and I kind of talked about this a little bit, but I think that we need increased like storage capacity, but also like enhanced logistics and distribution support, obviously, in our state. I think that we need some sort of cold storage cross-docking facility north of Bangor so that because it's like you can get from like the county to Bangor, but and then you can get from Bangor to southern Maine. So it's like kind of that's the way it's set up. And same thing with like western and eastern Maine. But if we had a centralized storage distribution that was like affordable, that was something that maybe like could we do it in this like a co-op or like a Chris, like one of like a co-op grocery store, but instead it's like a co-op storage facility. um and then I think the technical expertise, I believe you guys are really hitting on that with like the switchboard and all of that stuff. And then I do think maybe some grants on just like funding for R&D. I think like I'm talking right now to our blueberry partner, right? And he knows for a fact, I know that there's like a specific kind of blueberries in like a little cup. If we could do, would be so perfect for schools for grab and goes because they could put it next to a yogurt or next to cereal or whatever it is. But that specific piece of equipment is so expensive, and a lot of times, like, is there a way to R&D it first before you go out and buy the equipment? Could we buy that product from someone else and test it with the schools or something like that? So those are just a few of my ideas, but
Great. Yes, I agree. Love it.
I I have something to say after the panelists
Great. Yeah, we're
respond.
gonna just wrap up on these panel
Yeah.
questions and then we're gonna move into Q&A, Carrie. So hang on for just a
Well, this
second.
had more, it was more of a response to Linda um than the panel, but anyway, I'm fine.
Okay. All right, Laura, you want to go next? You're off mute.
Sure. Well, I had just ideas really for us specifically, but I definitely second the like community cold storage. We really struggle that and really scramble around with deliveries and all this kind of stuff and have a very bizarre setup for our cold storage. But anyway, so stuff that we could use just at our specific operation at Liberation Farm would be heat for the corn dryer. It would be so much more effective just to kind of like enhance the what we were already able to get with the funding would be adding heat to the corn dryer. Also, we talk about it all the time, would be to have solar at the farm. We have so much, especially for the processing stuff, so much that's running on electricity that we definitely have like it would be a perfect candidate for solar power. So that's something that we could really use. And then a walk-in of our own. We have a very small walk-in cooler, but in terms of infrastructure and the amount of products that we're moving, we would really benefit from a larger and just kind of upgraded walk-in.
Good.
So,
Amy, go for it.
okay. So I'm really interested in byproduct research and development. Like we are making so much more cheese, which means we are producing so much more whey. And what do we do with it? um, we're in a downtown location, so having we're next to a cafe. So having sort of a waste storage tank outside is not really something that we can do. It's been the biggest pain point for me with growth here. Is what do we do with this byproduct that is so nutritious? It's great for, I mean, we do work with a couple local farms that raise pigs and chickens and I tried to sell it for a little while just to cover the cost of labor of like washing the buckets and but that didn't really work out. It's a people just want to come up and pick it up and they don't really want to pay for it, which I totally get. Feed costs are high enough. Um, but I don't know what to do. And it's just such an invaluable resource. And I'm so busy growing the cheese business that like I always feel like, oh, there's got to be something we can do with this. I've tried to talk to, entrepreneurs in town, like whey vodka or whey. What could we make with whey? It's hundreds and hundreds of gallons of it, and I've had experts come to try, had some like consultants come to look at my system, try to help me figure out, is there a better way to like right now I basically have to bucket it out. I would love to be able to pump it out into a storage tank to a trailer to take it off site. um this is something I always have in the back of my mind of I'm sure I'm not the only cheesemaker that faces this problem. But it is such it's so nutritious and it's great animal feed. It could be used in so many different, I mean, the cafe next door is using it instead of buttermilk. So they're taking as much as they can too, but I really produce way more than they could possibly process. So that would be I mean, I third all the other points too of cold storage and distribution. And those are also, things that I think about on a daily basis. But it would say byproduct research and, R&D would be, I would love to partner with someone to figure out a better way to utilize this byproduct that we make. So
I wish we could like just being where we are in Maine, there are so many of these companies that are huge, right? Like there's these giant bids that go out for, I bet there's a bid for whey, you know what I mean? That these companies want for processing. And, if someone in Maine, like this group could somehow find those contacts so that we could start like bidding on that stuff, because there's, and Amy, have you looked at Alibaba by chance?
no, I have
So
not.
that's another one. Just I was thinking, I don't know about whey, but I know that they buy in huge quantities. You can put your product on there, but I don't really know exactly how it works. But I know that it's called Alibaba. It's just a place where you can go and buy
Oh, like,
anything in
okay.
huge quantities, like metric tons and stuff.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I'm open to any ideas at this point.
Yeah, gosh, that sounds like a tough nut to crack. I feel like yeah, I'm right there with you, Amy. Like there's gotta be somebody who has the genius idea for how to deal with that.
I like
There
thinking
are, and
no,
they're
no
around.
waste, no waste, like
Yeah.
way, like there's a fun play on words, like how do we get this, someone
Uh,
who picks up whey and brings it to farms. Oh
What
God,
about refed? Would refed do anything with that? Do you
refed.
know?
I haven't heard of refed.
I don't know if they just work with produce, but refed is they work a lot on like the border and they work with food pantries across the country. So they're on the border, there are just these huge warehouses full of produce that just is sitting there, and they work the logistics to getting that product to food pantries, and
Huh.
they're all about food waste. I mean, that might be a one to reach out to. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, thanks.
Refed.
Refed. All right. Thanks.
yeah, there's something here, Amy. Let's keep working on this problem together.
I mean, when you put it out there, that's things happen. So
That's right. That's what we're all about here.
yeah.
Um, Great. Sorry, I lost track. Did everybody, did all our panelists have a chance to respond to that final question about your wish list? I think so. So let's go ahead and open it up to questions from participants. And Carrie, this would be a great time to bring up any sort of like takeaways or suggestions as well. So um, let's go ahead and raise hands and we can move through your questions. Yeah, Carrie, go for it. Kick us off.
I
Oh,
don't
can't.
have the audio on. I managed to put the video on. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Hi. Um, so on the AIIP grant, if I'm remembering it correctly, um, there was a space in there for could this be done cooperatively, or do you see any possibility for cooperative or cooperatively organized? And I wonder what ideas people spun for that. It was kind of like you didn't have to have it, but was something the evaluators really wanted to look at. So there is some data there on how people might form co-ops for distribution or storage or whatever. I spent some time in the Midwest in Minneapolis, which is, of course, where Land O'Lakes is. And it's a very powerful cooperative that deals not just with uh, it provides services to the dairy industry from marketing through storage, through distribution, et cetera. So, are there agricultural groups like grain growers who could get together and brainstorm what support services they'd like to kind of outsource to a co-op so that they don't have to pay full freight and reinvent the wheel themselves? There may be strength in numbers on something like that. Um, and I know that there is a cooperative out, it's the Five Pillars Cooperative, um, for animal processing that they formed and launched recently, that seem to be based on those comments. Alita, is that ringing any bells with you?
Is Five Pillars a co-op though? I don't, Chris, do you?
I think well, I know
But
No,
their
the
business, they did
they're
their business. Go ahead.
they're a family-owned business, the Five Pillars Butchery, but they are forming a marketing co-op. So
Right,
the processing itself is going to be family-owned, but they are working with farmers who would be the suppliers to create a label basically that
right,
would be halal, Maine based
right.
meat. So yeah, there's a cooperative around it, but the business itself is family.
Right, but I also know, Chris, I know their CEI advisor, and I know that I don't know the particulars, but I do know that that business plan that they put together, which I think includes that cooperative element, was extremely detailed.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's out there and it's waiting to happen. Um, but sometimes I think in the agricultural community, people are so busy and frankly so independent, they want to be hands-on and do it themselves and whatever, that the collaborations don't happen in the way they could. Um, on
Yeah, and Alita, I could probably address Catherine Bessie. You're probably talking about Carrie from CDI. I was going to comment about co-ops anyway, if that's okay, Alita. I could. Uh, um, one one that I love is not food, but I think all of the farmers do raise food. Is the Maine Farmer Collective. They formed 2 years ago. They were partially funded by DACF through the specialty crop grant, and they're now in their second year. They've got let just under 40 farmers participating and 88 buyers, wholesale buyers. And it's all
Right.
about um, uh, aggregating, selling at a good price. They have this platform they bought off the shelf. Um, and it's awesome. And they're sharing a barn, and they got some grant funds for refrigeration, and they're bringing flowers from all over the state. They have two drivers going all over the state, and then there's an aggregation barn down in southern Maine. It's an awesome, yeah. I always sound like a hammer looking for an about cooperation, but our rule of thumb in general for cooperative formation, if you want to do the formal legal stuff, is three unrelated individuals or organizations can form a co-op. It doesn't have to be Land O'Lakes or Cabot. Um, Fishing co-ops we know are successful, and potato co-ops up in Rustic still exist. But it is all about shared economy, market power. So yeah, there's an ecosystem. Come to Co-op Maine and in May, on May 3rd to learn all about it. But yeah, I mean, it's obviously not the solution. Um, People love to point out failures of co-ops, but co-ops are human driven, and they fail at the same rate as any business does. So, but yeah, big fan. Love the
Yeah.
idea.
I'm so glad you guys brought this up. I'm always here for a cooperative conversation. I do just want to back up because I forgot to allow some space for Bree to share a little bit about their project with DACF. Um, and then we can get into some more Q&A or takeaways with participants. And I also want to just mention, Elaine, if you want to pipe in here, that's great too. So Bree, yeah, do you want to share a little bit?
Sure, yeah. So I can share what I've been working on. So my name's Bree Bowman. I've been active throughout Maine's and the regional food system and forest economy for the past several years. Most recently was working with the Commissioner's Office at the Department of Ag, Conservation and Forestry to run an analysis on data provided by CEI on the full pool of eligible applications to AIIP, of which there were 813 and 64 funded. So the findings of the report in specificity are internal to the office. And we heard earlier from Jane that like folks in the department closely related to the program haven't reviewed the final draft yet, which was just submitted last week. So I have to keep my sharing and observations pretty broad as I just was working internally for them and not as a representative of the project. But can say that the analysis itself focused on an overview of the applicant pool, so significant themes or trends of who was applying, how much they were applying for, an analysis of the investment potential, so what requests show us about opportunity for continued investment in infrastructure in the state, as well as an overview and analysis of market access priorities. So looking at how proposals indicated desire to scale up in existing markets or access new markets. And those were both like hyper local, regional, national, and international markets. And then lastly, just thinking about some like key takeaways or recommendations. It is likely that a overview of the analysis that I completed will be presented by Claire Hawkins to the Agriculture, Food, and Forestry Investment Fund, which I think Amy called out in the chat earlier. And it's also important to note that this data is incomplete in its ability to characterize need in the sector, in that it's basically just raw data from people's applications. I think one of the biggest opportunities is to look at what we were able to gather just looking at compiled application data and think about this sort of dual purpose design of future funding opportunities as a way to both do this sort of broad scale, like very light needs assessment at the same time as reviewing individual operations needs for investment. So this AIIP application wasn't built to facilitate deep or detailed analysis on the back end, which is what I was doing with the available information. And I think in the future, thinking about grant applications and designing them so that the sum of the data that is received can really be used for the purpose of understanding need across the sector, could be a really good practice that will take intention and time, but I think could ultimately help us get a clearer picture of what kind of investments are most important. Um, and yeah, I don't know if folks have questions on what I'd be able to answer, but happy to try.
Great. Thank you for giving that background, Bree. Yeah, eager to see whatever they have to share. Um, all right. Other questions, comments, takeaways about AIIP?
If I could quickly, I just wanted to offer some information on how Maine Chris Company used the grant to leverage other sources of funding and also the kind of impact. So I know that's always super helpful too when evaluating the success of the grant. So the Maine Chris Company is located in Winslow. They use Maine grown buckwheat from Bouchard Family Farms in Fort Kent to create crisp breads and crackers. And they received a grant to install an automated packaging line because they were hand packing all of their um, all of their products, and they were coming out with it. They wanted to come out with a new line, and it just wasn't efficient in or even possible. But they did. I know automation might sound a little scary, but they actually increased their jobs. It just allowed them to hire more people and do two product lines with the development of other product lines in the future. They were able to go at the point that they applied. They were regional in Whole Foods, but the capacity increase allowed them to go national in Whole Foods and through national distribution. They're also in like 1,000 Kroger stores, and neither of those would have been possible without the grant. They also leveraged grant funds through USDA Rural Business Development, and some other grant opportunities for projects that weren't the automated packaging line, but just having the investment of AIIP really gives credibility and, confidence in other funders and also, other non-grant investment funders that the company has, a strong, efficient operation. And yeah, I guess I just wanted to offer that as a great piece of gratitude for the grant and just knowing that the return on investment was incredible and continues to be felt. And I know it's not really related, but I also do PR or did PR for the company and the grant. We were able to secure some like earned media coverage because of what the grant allowed us to do. So tried to give a little shout out there as well.
Yeah. Thanks, Elaine. Huge fan of Maine Crisp. And yeah, it's again, I'm hearing how AIP was useful for like direct infrastructure investment, but also sort of created a snowball effect of funding opportunities down the line. So that's great. Questions or um, comments for our panelists before we wrap up here? Go for it, Chris.
Alita, I just have mainly food for thought, and as uh, Brittany and others at DACF think about the next steps in the fund, is there, just like this group, there's Maine Philanthropy Center in Sewell has a Maine Food Funders Network, philanthropies, CDFIs, DACF participates, um, as well as the Maine Farmers Resource Network, which is all the TA providers, Maine Co-op Extension, DACF, and others. Is there a way to coordinate? And, it was mentioned earlier, how much AIP leveraged, can we coordinate as these things become more real and help fill those gaps, both in the TA side and the funding side? It's all sort of there. It's just one extra step maybe of coordination on the TA side and the funding side. So just just food for thought. I've spoken to Claire about it too, and Amy, Winston, and Bradley at CEI. So yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Thanks, Chris. And talk about a hammer looking for a nail. I feel like a lot of what has been shared around needs or ideas for the future during this conversation has just kept bringing me back to the switchboard, and how it's one of our goals to, serve as that sort of connector, of resources and services. So I appreciate that food for thought. All right. Um, oh,
I'll
thanks.
just gonna
Oh,
double
before Danny.
if you all could take 1 minute literally to complete that impact survey, that will help us generate funds to keep this resource free for everybody. Hopefully. So if you don't mind, that'd be awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Annie. And thanks everybody for hopping on today. I will be following up with all of the nuggets that came out of today's meeting, for our wider group, who some of them weren't able to make it today. And we'll catch you next time. Panelists, if you want to just hang on a minute, and Annie, I just want to close the loop with you all.
Thank you, panelists. That was so awesome. So many great nuggets. Bye, everybody. Okay, well, that was wonderful. Both the questions, Alita, and coordination, and all of you panelists for so much inspiration and nuggets. And I loved the part about sharing your equipment and infrastructure. That's great. Oh, you're on mute, Melissa.
Yeah, tell everyone I'm putting some stuff together now, but we also put in a boxing line at WR Allen. So we can do 20 and 30-pound boxes as well with the metal detector, as well as totes. But I put together like a whole idea to bring to Sue at the University of Maine to see if we can like, are there byproducts that we can just IQF freeze? Now, again, the issue is like getting it to Orland. You know what I mean? There's that whole like getting it from here to there. But yeah, anyone that's interested, please send it my way.
Yeah. I mean, certainly that, like Alita said, that is a future like switchboard, thing to tackle for sure. And in the meantime, like even if you have info that you're like, hey, we're looking for this and you want to send it our way for Lauren, our comms person, just to like get out in the world, feel free, give
Oh,
me
I'm
some.
going to.
Okay.
I'm doing it now. I'm trying to get the guys to put me. I'm like, so can you like tell me like what this thing does? Like, what does it slice? Like, what is it capabilities? How many pounds? So I'm trying to put together like a real sell sheet that I can like send out, and I want to have one for farmers, and then have someone that's like one for you guys that are like allies that you guys can send to the farmers. So
Right. Yes. Yeah, I think I saw a couple emails from you come through in the past 20 minutes.
I had a question for you all that I didn't get to ask, but like, do you need extra funds like through your sharing equipment to like make ends meet, or is this just like a bonus, at this point? Like, what's your
this is ends meet and meets for us. So we've actually decided, I'll just tell everyone here. So we're not closing, we're just not processing next year. So Good Shepherd Food Bank has been supporting us, right? So they're supporting about $1 million a year. And, with losing of grants and, food insecurity, we all know it's a major issue. They have to pivot. It's just not sustainable. So we're not going to be processing next year because we already have about 1 million pounds of broccoli to sell. So it's not like we're going to run out. But, it's definitely for us, if we can't find another, partner, I'm not sure if we are going to be able to stay open. That's kind of like, unfortunately, we're definitely staying open for years. I think it's going to take us some time to sell product and all that, but we're hoping that, with some partnerships that we'll be able to then process again the following year.
Okay. I just want to put another plug too into coming to the Convergence. We're going to have a switchboard focused workshop at the Convergence that's going to be like about this, basically, and we don't know the details yet. We're working it out. But if you all could come and be part of that workshop, that would be awesome. I'm sure.
Absolutely.
If there's any like more than participation that we want, Alita will get in touch with you. But yeah, May 29th, you can register, and we'll follow up more. But yes, that would be amazing to have you all in the room who are actually doing it, you know? Right.
Yeah. Well, that's all I got for you guys. I just wanted to make sure, folks who were requesting compensation for your time, had that chance to connect with you, Annie, and just wanted to, yeah, say thank you so much for sharing your insights. I think that yeah, it sounds like our participants got a lot out of the conversation and were really engaged. So appreciate your time today and hope to stay connected in the future.
Awesome.
Thank you
I
so
just have a quick
much.
question.
Yeah, Laura.
Where do we find the survey or the evaluation that you wanted us to do at the end?
Oh,
She
great.
dropped it in the link, and I think
You
Yeah,
put,
I just put the link to the survey in the chat.
Cool.
yeah,
Thank you so much.
if you want to get a stipend, just email me. Okay. If you're not
Okay.
getting paid already through work, that's like a legal thing, you know.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Take care.
Awesome. Well, thanks for
Thank
having me. I really
you.
enjoyed it.
Thank
Yeah,
you all.
thank you all. Talk
Bye.
soon. Bye.